Well, let's bring KZN into focus to get some analysis ahead of tomorrow. In studio with me is our political analyst, Lukhona Mnguni. Of course, he'll be joining us for the remainder of the week as we watch the local government elections. Coming out of that story by Dustin, one of the key things that we've been watching in the run-up to this election has been the political violence that has absolutely gripped KZN. You've done extensive work around what is behind this violence. Firstly, do you think that it could have been avoided? I mean, were there signs within the various political parties, particularly the ANC, about the tensions being so high that it would result in death?
Well, certainly something could have been done about the violence. One is you sort out the internal processes within the political party. So you don't create a perception that you actually have internal democracy when you also are able to undermine it. I mean, we know that there were two back-to-back conferences that were very contentious in KZN, and that was the regional eThekwini conference and the provincial congress, which elected the leadership of Sihle Zikalala and the leadership of Zandile Gumede in the region. Now, those congresses, the build-up to those congresses and the kind of tension that was amongst the membership of the ANC was very indicative that there's no peace here, there is no unity, it is all manufactured, and that there are a lot of factions that are at play. Now, it is within the political party itself that you can only rectify that. So nothing else is going to rectify that. Unfortunately, Kathy, the ANC didn't do what it had to do, bringing together the factions, closing down the factional divides and all of that. And so part of the violence we see is a spillover effect of that disunity. However, if we go back to the 2011 elections, we already saw a creeping up of this violence closer to the elections in terms of people being intimidated, people being told who to vote for in terms of the what councillor candidates and so on. Now, where that has a problem is that it's now a race to the trough. That's what some people call it. So you are racing to be in the council to make sure that you have a footing in the council and have your hands in the levers of power and the resources of the eThekwini municipality, which is, of course, a municipality with billions of rands, and also other municipalities, local municipalities elsewhere in KwaZulu-Natal. So the signs have always been there, and unfortunately, the political party has not done what it should have done and instigate its own internal commission to understand why are comrades at each other's throats in this way.
Now, while the ANC may be having its own internal issues, the opposition in KZN also not having a good run-up, the NFP now out of the race because they can't contest this election. And we're also hearing that they're going to be holding a joint press briefing with the ANC this morning. What do you make of that? First, I mean, what becomes of all the NFP candidates who would have stood in this election?
Well, I suppose now that is the tough part. I mean, the NFP had a number of candidates in the 2011 elections, winning wards and winning PR seats. They actually had two municipalities that were under their custodianship, Dumbe and Gwanongoma municipalities. Now, the NFP is interestingly where COPE was in 2011 elections, when factions were at such loggerheads, and then one faction within COPE decided it would go and not canvass for the movement and stay away if it were, and one went on to stand as the movement. But now the NFP is even in a trickier position. They can't stand at all, besides in eNCA municipality. Now then, they've got two things to worry about: councillor candidates and voters that were NFP voters. And now, of course, we saw yesterday the DA held a press conference where some of the NFP leaders said that in the Nongoma and Edumbe area, they will, of course, cooperate with the Democratic Alliance. And the NFP there had gotten 51% of the vote, so which is very significant constituency. And the DA is actually quite upbeat about the prospects of now turning a majority of that support towards it, and then the DA being in the forefront of leading a coalition government there. And of course, the one with the ANC that is upcoming, we expect that the ANC is also going to be claiming that in certain municipalities it's going to be cooperating with the NFP, and some of the NFP's voters are going to be motivated to vote for the ANC. We already saw over the weekend, the ANC welcoming to its ranks some of the NFP senior members like Mnguni and others.
And I mean, certainly when we take a look at what has come out of our Ipsos poll results in terms of metros, we see very clearly that the eThekwini Council, the eThekwini Metro falls securely under the ANC. At least these are projections by the poll anyway. Does that make sense to you? Would you agree with that?
Well, certainly the eThekwini falls where it should fall, I think. If you look at the 2011 elections, the eThekwini municipality went to the ANC with growth. So from 2006, the ANC had grown there with, I think, about 6 percentage points. So definitely, I think they are still secure. They are above 60% in terms of the 2011 vote. KZN is a difficult constituency to break even into, and the ANC knows that, and everybody else knows that. So once you've got your footing, it's very difficult to be dislodged within no time. So I definitely see eThekwini in the hands of the ANC. What is only worrying probably for the ANC, and what I think the poll might not have factored in, is how many of the independent candidates, eThekwini has 53 of them. So the question is how many of the 53 independent candidates, if they're in different wards, are actually going to emerge out of a municipality of about 104, 103 wards.
All right, certainly these are just some of the issues that we're going to be watching as we get ready for South Africans to cast their ballots. Of course, special voting continues today, but official voting day taking place tomorrow. Political analyst Lukhona Mnguni with me in studio. Up next, Moneyline, and then we have all the latest headlines at the top of the hour. Stay with us.